Electronic warfare, the invisible shield. 11:43 p.m. Russian operators launched 53 Shahed kamikaze drones toward Kyiv. Iranian-designed, Russian-operated. Each drone carried 50 kilograms of high explosive. Flight path: 800 kilometers from launch zones in occupied Crimea and southern Russia. Expected arrival over Ukrainian capital, approximately 4:30 a.m. Target: civilian infrastructure and government buildings. Russian forces expected devastation. They would receive something completely different. Ukrainian electronic warfare units detected the drone swarm immediately. American-supplied radar systems tracked launch signatures. NATO intelligence forwarded satellite detection data. Ukrainian signals intelligence intercepted Russian command frequencies. By 11:47 p.m., Ukrainian Air Defense Command possessed complete picture of the incoming attack. 53 drones, multiple approach vectors, coordinated timing designed to overwhelm defenses, standard Russian tactics. But Ukrainian response would be anything but standard. The electronic warfare system deployed for this intercept represented 2 years of intensive Ukrainian development. Call it Pokrova, Ukrainian for protection. This isn't single device. It's integrated network of electronic warfare, signals intelligence, and cyber attack capabilities designed specifically to counter Shahed drones. Western intelligence agencies contributed technical expertise. Ukrainian engineers designed systems. Domestic industry manufactured components. The result: electronic warfare capability. Russia didn't anticipate and couldn't counter. Shahed drones navigate using GPS satellite positioning. They fly pre-programmed routes toward designated targets. Operators can't manually control them. They're fully autonomous once launched. This autonomy makes them resistant to communications jamming, but vulnerable to GPS manipulation. Ukrainian engineers understood this vulnerability. Pokrova exploited it brilliantly. The system works through multiple layers. First layer: GPS jamming. Powerful transmitters overwhelm drone GPS receivers with interference signals. Drones lose positioning data. They don't know where they are. Second layer: GPS spoofing. False GPS signals transmitted that drones interpret as legitimate. These signals report incorrect position data. Drones think they're hundreds of kilometers from actual location. Third layer: command signal injection. Pokrova transmits signals mimicking Russian drone control protocols, issuing false commands to alter flight paths. At 12:34 a.m., Pokrova activated. Operators monitored drone positions using Ukrainian radar networks. As drones crossed into range, approximately 200 kilometers from Kyiv, electronic warfare began. GPS jamming blanked drone navigation receivers. Within seconds, all 53 Shahed drones lost GPS lock. Their navigation systems reported signal loss. Autonomous programming commanded them to continue on last known heading, while attempting GPS reacquisition. They wouldn't reacquire legitimate signals. Pokrova ensured that. Phase 2 began at 1:15 a.m. GPS spoofing. Pokrova transmitted false GPS signals that drones accepted as legitimate. These signals reported drone positions approximately 300 kilometers southeast of actual locations. Drone navigation computers calculated course corrections based on false position data. Drones banked sharply, turning away from Kyiv, heading toward what they believed was correct approach vector. In reality, they turned toward Russian-controlled territory in Belgorod Oblast. Russian operators noticed nothing wrong. Shahed drones transmit minimal telemetry during flight to avoid detection. Operators launched them, received confirmation of launch, then waited for impact reports. They had no real-time awareness of drone positions or status. This operational blindness made them vulnerable to exactly the type of GPS manipulation Pokrova delivered. By the time Russian forces realized something went wrong, consequences would be catastrophic. At 2:47 a.m., Ukrainian electronic warfare operators transmitted final layer, command signal injection. Pokrova systems analyzed captured Russian drone control protocols, generated valid command signals, and transmitted them to the drone swarm. These signals commanded drones to identify new targets at spoofed GPS coordinates. The drones complied, adjusting flight paths toward new targets. In reality, those coordinates placed targets inside Russian territory, specifically military installations around Belgorod that Russian forces never anticipated might be attacked by their own drones. This operation required extraordinary technical sophistication. Ukrainian engineers reverse-engineered Russian drone control protocols through captured drones and signals intelligence collection. They identified authentication methods used to validate commands. They replicated those authentication methods perfectly enough to fool drone onboard computers. Then they developed transmission systems capable of overwhelming drone receivers with false signals, while maintaining plausible signal characteristics. This is advanced electronic warfare requiring capabilities few nations possess. The first Shahed drone impacted Russian territory at 3:52 a.m. Target: a military warehouse complex in Belgorod Oblast, 23 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. The drone's 50-kilogram warhead detonated on a building storing artillery ammunition. Secondary explosions followed as stored munitions ignited. The blast was visible from Ukrainian observation posts across the border. Ukrainian forces initially assumed air defense had destroyed an incoming drone near the border. They soon realized the truth was far more interesting. Additional impacts followed rapidly. 12 Shahed drones struck military targets around Belgorod between 3:52 and 4:17 a.m. Russian air defense engaged frantically, but Russian identification friend or foe systems marked the drones as friendly. Russian SAM operators hesitated, uncertain whether these were Ukrainian drones or Russian systems experiencing navigation failures. That hesitation allowed Ukrainian electronic warfare to guide drones into Russian military infrastructure virtually unopposed. The remaining 41 drones present a different challenge. Pokrova operators assessed they couldn't guide all drones to Russian targets. Too many drones, insufficient time, risk of Russian electronic countermeasures once they understood what was happening. Alternative plan: crash drones harmlessly into unpopulated areas. This required different GPS spoofing strategy directing drones toward fields, forests, and bodies of water far from civilian areas. Between 4:20 and 5:15 a.m., 41 Shahed drones impacted across northern Ukraine in locations chosen by Ukrainian electronic warfare operators. Empty fields, forest areas. One drone crashed into the Dnieper River. 0 civilian casualties. 0 infrastructure damage. 53 drones launched. 0 reached intended targets. 12 struck Russian territory. 41 crashed harmlessly. 100% interception rate achieved without firing single anti-aircraft missile. Russian response evolved slowly. Initial reports suggested Ukrainian air defense performed exceptionally well. Russian military bloggers praised Ukrainian capabilities while criticizing Russian attack planning. Then, evidence emerged about drones impacting Russian territory. Photos of wreckage bearing Russian markings. Witnesses describing explosions at Belgorod military sites. Russian official statements became confused and contradictory. They couldn't explain how their drones attacked their own territory. Ukrainian officials maintained strategic silence for 18 hours. No claims, no explanations, no commentary. This silence forced Russian sources to report facts without Ukrainian spin. Russian audiences watched their government struggle to explain inexplicable events. Finally, Ukrainian intelligence released carefully crafted statement acknowledging successful electronic warfare operations that rendered Russian drone attack completely ineffective. The statement provided no technical details, but confirmed Ukrainian responsibility for redirecting drones. Western intelligence agencies monitored the entire operation via satellite surveillance and signals intelligence. They watched Ukrainian electronic warfare systems activate. They tracked drone position changes as GPS spoofing took effect. They observed impacts on Russian territory. NATO officials described the operation as exceptionally sophisticated electronic warfare and demonstration of Ukrainian technical capability exceeding expectations. Private assessments were even more impressed. The technical achievement deserves emphasis. GPS spoofing isn't novel. It's been demonstrated in laboratory conditions and limited field tests. But conducting GPS spoofing against 53 autonomous drones simultaneously, in combat conditions, while maintaining operational security, represents capability few militaries possess. Ukrainian forces demonstrated technical sophistication that rivals American and Israeli electronic warfare capabilities. This isn't improvisation. This is world-class electronic warfare operations. The psychological impact on Russian drone operations cannot be overstated. Every Shahed drone operator now questions whether their systems might be compromised. Will drones reach intended targets? Might they be redirected against Russian forces? Can GPS navigation be trusted? These doubts degrade operational effectiveness more than physical destruction of drones. Uncertainty paralyzes decision-making. Russian forces hesitate to launch drones when success seems uncertain. Ukrainian electronic warfare achieved strategic effect beyond immediate tactical victory. Cost analysis reveals brutal mathematics. 53 Shahed drones at approximately $50,000 each equals approximately $2.65 million. Ukrainian electronic warfare operation cost perhaps $500,000 in electricity and operator time. Ukraine achieved 100-to-1 cost advantage through electronic warfare versus kinetic interception. Even better, Pokrova systems remain operational and reusable for future operations. The electronic warfare return on investment is extraordinary. Russian countermeasures options appear limited. They could add inertial navigation systems to supplement GPS, but that requires expensive upgrades to existing drones and reduces accuracy significantly. They could implement anti-spoofing authentication in GPS receivers, but that demands sophisticated cryptography and secure key distribution systems Russia's defense industry struggles to develop under sanctions. They could reduce reliance on GPS entirely, switching to terrain-following radar navigation, but that increases drone cost tenfold and reduces range substantially. None of these options are quick or cheap. Ukrainian electronic warfare doctrine evolved remarkably since invasion began. Early war, Ukrainian EW focused on basic communications jamming. By 2024, Ukrainian capabilities expanded to GPS manipulation, radar spoofing, cyber attacks on enemy systems, and signals intelligence collection. This evolution reflects systematic capability development supported by Western technical assistance, Ukrainian innovation, and combat experience that provides data no peacetime training can replicate. The Pokrova system itself represents multiple subsystems integrated through sophisticated software. Ground-based jammers create GPS denial zones. Transmitter arrays generate GPS spoofing signals. Signals intelligence receivers monitor enemy communications. Cyber warfare modules exploit vulnerabilities in enemy systems. Command and control software coordinates all elements based on real-time tactical situation. This integration requires software engineering excellence and systems integration capability that demonstrates Ukrainian technical sector maturity. Western technology transfer played crucial role. American GPS jamming techniques, Israeli spoofing methodologies, British signals intelligence, Polish cyber warfare expertise. Each ally contributed knowledge that Ukrainian engineers integrated into uniquely Ukrainian system, optimized for specific threats Ukraine faces. This collaboration model allows rapid capability development impossible for single nation operating independently. Alliance warfare extends beyond weapons supply into knowledge sharing. Russian propaganda struggled to explain the operation's failure. Initial narratives claimed Ukrainian air defense shot down all drones. That narrative collapsed when evidence emerged of drones impacting Russian territory. Revised narratives suggested technical malfunctions caused navigation failures. That explanation satisfied nobody. 53 simultaneous navigation failures strains credulity. Eventually, Russian sources acknowledged probable Ukrainian electronic warfare, but downplayed its significance. The spin fooled nobody. International reaction highlighted different perspectives. European officials praised Ukrainian innovation and called for increased electronic warfare support. American defense officials studied operation carefully, seeking lessons for U.S. military doctrine. Russian officials demanded international investigation into Ukrainian terrorism using electronic attacks. That demand went nowhere. Electronic warfare against military targets is absolutely legal under international law. Russia's complaints had no basis. The operation's success will influence future procurement decisions globally. Electronic warfare systems receive increased attention and funding. GPS-dependent weapons face scrutiny over vulnerability to spoofing. Autonomous systems' reliability gets questioned when autonomy can be exploited. Ukrainian combat experience is rewriting military doctrine worldwide. What works in Ukraine influences military planning from Washington to Beijing to Tel Aviv. Shahed drone production and deployment will probably continue despite this setback. Russia purchased thousands from Iran. Manufacturing continues. Operational costs remain low compared to cruise missiles. But effectiveness declined dramatically. If Ukrainian electronic warfare can neutralize Shahed swarms consistently, Russian forces must seek alternative weapons. Alternatives cost more, require different logistics, and may prove equally vulnerable to Ukrainian countermeasures. Ukraine created strategic problem without solution for Russian operations planners. The 12 drones that struck Russian territory caused substantial damage beyond immediate blast effects. Ammunition depot explosions destroyed stockpiles intended for frontline forces. Warehouse fires burned for hours. Russian emergency services responded to disaster in their own territory, caused by their own weapons. The embarrassment factor amplified tactical losses. Russian military competence appeared questionable even to domestic audiences when Russian drones attacked Russian bases. Ukrainian operators who conducted this operation received recognition while identities remained classified. Their technical expertise and operational discipline made success possible. Electronic warfare operators don't face frontline combat, but their contributions to Ukrainian defense prove equally critical. Modern warfare requires diverse specialists: drone operators, cyber warfare experts, signals intelligence analysts, electronic warfare technicians. All contribute to comprehensive defense that stops Russian attacks. The operation demonstrated Ukrainian ability to conduct multi-domain defensive operations. Electronic warfare defeated drones. Cyber operations potentially supported EW by degrading Russian command systems. Information warfare highlighted operational success to demoralize Russian forces. This integration across cyber, electronic, information, and kinetic domains characterizes modern military operations. Ukrainian forces master this integration increasingly well. Looking forward, electronic warfare's importance will continue growing. As warfare becomes more technology-dependent, electronic warfare becomes more decisive. GPS navigation, digital communications, computerized fire control, networked air defense, all vulnerable to electronic attack by competent opponents. Ukraine's success will drive increased investment in electronic warfare capabilities globally. Future wars will be fought as much in electromagnetic spectrum as physical terrain. Russian forces face technological dilemma. They can't match Ukrainian electronic warfare sophistication quickly. Improving capability requires years of research, development, and fielding. Meanwhile, Ukrainian capabilities continue advancing. Russia falls further behind technologically, while trying to wage offensive war against opponent with superior electronic warfare capability. This asymmetry favors Ukraine strategically and operationally. The operation's broader strategic message matters. Ukraine demonstrated ability to neutralize Russian standoff attacks without kinetic interception. This capability makes Russian strategy of terrorizing Ukrainian civilian population through drone attacks less viable. If drones can't reach targets, terrorism objective fails. Ukrainian electronic warfare transformed strategic calculation. Russian leadership must reconsider whether Shahed attacks produce positive results when most drones are neutralized or redirected. By 72 hours post-operation, Russian drone launches against Ukrainian cities decreased noticeably. Russian forces launched approximately 60% fewer drones during subsequent week compared to previous weeks. This reduction suggests Russian operational pause while they assess vulnerabilities and develop countermeasures. Ukrainian electronic warfare achieved operational effect beyond single-night success. Russian attack tempo declined because Russian confidence in Shahed effectiveness collapsed. Where military coverage becomes leverage. The drones launched toward Kyiv in darkness. 53 weapons carrying death toward Ukrainian civilians. But Ukrainian electrons moved faster than Iranian drones. GPS signals bent reality. False coordinates guided weapons astray. 12 drones struck Russian territory in cosmic irony. 41 crashed harmlessly. 0 reached targets. This is modern warfare. Invisible, silent, absolutely devastating. Subscribe below if you want the operations they won't show you, because electronic warfare wins without firing shots. Ukrainian engineers proved it. Russian drones proved vulnerable. GPS proved manipulable. And warfare entered new era where electromagnetic spectrum dominates kinetic effects. Ukraine leads this evolution. Russia struggles to follow. The invisible war continues nightly. Ukrainian electrons patrol digital space. Russian attacks fail before they begin. The shield stands firm, built not from steel, but from mathematics and innovation and determination to defend homeland through every available means. 53 drones launched. 53 drones failed. The score stands clear. Ukrainian electronic warfare dominates Russian attempted attacks. The invisible shield protects what missiles cannot reach. And Russia discovers that 21st century warfare requires capabilities they lack and cannot quickly develop. The technological war favors innovation, and Ukraine innovates faster than Russia can respond. That's the reality Russian forces face. That's the truth 53 destroyed drones proved. The electronic war continues. Ukraine stands ready. Russian drones fly toward uncertain fates. And Ukrainian operators smile knowing they control the electromagnetic spectrum where modern wars are won or lost.